This is HOA rejected. A snow route sign turned into her favorite threat. The tow operator asked who authorized this, and Karen screamed that the HOA did, and that my car was being removed for non-compliance, unless I produced proof on the spot. You will clear to the edge, or you will pay the maximum fine, Donna Jackson said, waving a laminated rule card in my face, like it was a warrant. I am Aaron Torres, network engineer, and I live in Cottonwood Creek Village Association in Seattle, Washington. The HOA treats neighbors like suspects during winter, and Donna is the social committee chair who spreads rumors. Right now she is standing in my driveway at 6:45 on a Wednesday evening, the sun already set, and there is a tow truck idling behind my car with the hook half extended. I have been home from work for less than 10 minutes. The air smells like diesel and wet asphalt. My snow boots are still outside on the porch mat where I left them 5 minutes ago when I came in to grab my phone. That is the trigger. Donna tagged them as clutter and sent a forced photo inspection demand to my email while I was still driving home in icy conditions. I pulled my phone out and held it up. I said, I cleared the driveway yesterday. I have photos. The tow driver, a guy in a reflective vest with a clipboard, looked between us. He said, ma'am, if he has documentation I need to see the HOA authorization in writing before I hook this vehicle. Donna's face went red. She said, I am the authorization. I am on the board. This resident has been non-compliant for 3 days, and the policy is clear. You can be mad, or you can be compliant. I felt my jaw tighten. 3 days. That was a lie. I shoveled Monday afternoon after the last snow stopped. Today is Wednesday. I opened my camera roll and flipped to the time-stamped photos. I said here, Monday, 4:30 p.m. Driveway clear. Curb clear. Sidewalk clear. Donna did not even look. She said, those could be from any storm. The driver leaned in and looked at my screen. He said, that's yesterday's date stamp. Donna snapped, the rule says edge to edge. He left snow on the edge. I want compliance, or I want the car removed. The driver looked at me. He said, I need a written work order from the association management company, or I am not touching this. Donna said, fine, I will call them right now. She pulled out her phone and turned away, already dialing. I looked at the driver. I said, thank you. He shrugged. He said, I have been doing this for 12 years. HOA tows are always a mess. If she gets the order, I will have to come back, but I am not doing it without paper. He climbed back into the cab and shut off the flashing lights. Donna finished her call and turned around. She said, they are sending the authorization email. You have until tomorrow morning to provide proof of compliance or the car goes. I said, I already showed you proof. She said, not acceptable. I need a new photo inspection submitted through the portal with today's date and measurements to the property line. Due by 8 a.m. tomorrow, or you are in default. I let her talk, because every word was helping me. That is the thing about Donna. She has done this before, and people fold every time. She said that to me 3 weeks ago during the last confrontation over my recycling bin being 6 inches out of the designated zone. She stood in my driveway then too, smug and certain, and told me that everyone eventually gives up because she has the process on her side. I did not fold then, and I am not folding now. I said, fine, I will submit the photos. She said, make sure they show the edge clearance, no excuses. She walked back to her own car, a yellow SUV parked across the street with the hazards on. The tow truck pulled away. I stood there in the slush, my breath fogging in the cold, and felt the weight of what just happened. This was not about snow. This was about control. I went back inside and pulled up my email. The forced photo inspection demand was timestamped at 6:22 p.m., right when I was on the highway in stop-and-go traffic on black ice. The email subject line said immediate compliance required, and the body said I had until 8 a.m. tomorrow to submit close-up pictures of my driveway edge, sidewalk edge, and curb line, with measurements visible. No extension, no appeal. Amenities lockout would follow non-compliance. I opened the attachment. It was a PDF of the winter rules, 23 pages, with highlighted sections about snow removal timelines and edge clearance standards. The highlighted parts did not match what Donna said. The rule said 48 hours after snowfall ends, not 3 days, and it said reasonable effort, not edge to edge with measurements. I screenshotted the PDF and the email timestamp. Then I walked back outside with a tape measure, a flashlight, and my phone. The driveway edge was clear. The curb was clear. There was a thin line of packed snow along the property line where the city plow had shoved it back, but that was city snow, not mine. I measured it, 4 inches at the thickest point. I took 16 photos from different angles with the tape measure visible and the timestamp on. Then I checked the sidewalk. Clear. The snow boots were still on the porch mat. I picked them up and brought them inside. If Donna wanted to tag those as clutter again, she would have to trespass to do it. I went back inside and uploaded the photos to the HOA portal with a note that said compliance documentation submitted per request, and I attached the PDF screenshot showing the rule text that contradicted her 3-day claim. The sun is setting early, and I need daylight photos before Karen changes the scene. That was the pressure. Donna had timed this for my work departure in icy conditions, just like she always did. She knew I left for work at 7:15 a.m. and that I would not have time to argue if she dropped a deadline right before my commute. But tonight I had the time, and I had the light from the street lamps, and I had the documentation. I hit submit and sat down at my kitchen table. My hands were shaking. Not from cold, from anger. This neighborhood was supposed to be quiet. I moved here 2 years ago because it was close to work, and the dues were reasonable. The HOA seemed normal at first. Monthly meetings, basic landscaping rules, a few complaints about parking. Then Donna joined the board 6 months ago, and everything changed. She started running forced inspections, targeting specific houses, creating new enforcement policies that no one voted on. I had been on her list since I questioned her about a special assessment for holiday decorations that only benefited 3 houses. If this sounds familiar, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories where the paper trail wins. I opened my email again and scrolled back through the last 6 months. Donna had sent me 14 violation notices. Garbage bin placement. Recycling bin angle. Holiday lights up past January 10th. Front door wreath not on approved list. Lawn mower visible from street. Car parked in driveway past 10 p.m. Window blinds wrong color. Snow boots on porch. Every single one had a compliance deadline and a threat. Half of them referenced rules that did not exist in the official HOA documents. I forwarded the whole chain to my personal email as backup. Then I called my ally. His name is Bill Ramos, a retired police officer who lives 3 houses down. He answered on the second ring. I said, "Bill, Donna just tried to tow my car." He said, "Again?" I said, "Yeah. She is claiming I did not clear snow for 3 days and demanding new photo inspections with measurements due by 8 a.m. Bill said, "That is harassment. You want me to witness anything?" I said, "I already submitted the photos, but I think she is going to escalate. Can you keep an eye out tomorrow morning?" He said, "Absolutely. I will be up at 6. If she comes back, I will film it." I thanked him and hung up. Then I pulled out my laptop and opened the HOA management company portal. I logged in and checked the enforcement history. My account showed all 14 notices. I clicked on each one and downloaded the PDFs. Then I opened the meeting minutes archive. The last board meeting was 2 weeks ago. I had not attended because I was working late, but the minutes were posted. I scrolled to the enforcement report section. Donna had presented a proposal for enhanced winter compliance monitoring with immediate amenities lockout for non-compliance. The board voted 4-1 in favor. The one dissenting vote was from a guy named Marcus Webb, the treasurer, who said the policy was too aggressive and needed clearer definitions. Donna responded that definitions were in the handbook and enforcement would be case by case. That was the loophole. Case by case meant she could make it up. I saved the meeting minutes and opened a new folder on my desktop. I labeled it HOA evidence and started dragging files into it. All 14 violation notices. The photo timestamps from tonight. The email chain. The meeting minutes. The winter rules PDF with the contradictions highlighted. Then, I remembered the audio recording from the meeting. I had recorded the November meeting on my phone when Donna accused me of questioning her authority during public comment. I pulled up the file and listened. Her voice came through clearly. She said, I have reviewed this resident's history, and I am recommending enhanced monitoring because he has shown a pattern of non-compliance and resistance. When I listen to this, I can tell she is setting me up. The recording was 42 minutes long. I scrubbed through it until I found the part where she talked about enforcement discretion. She said, "We have the authority to interpret compliance on a case-by-case basis, and residents who push back will be subject to escalated measures." That was the real motive. I was being targeted because I questioned her. I exported the audio file and added it to the evidence folder. Then I opened my browser and searched for HOA Attorney Seattle. I needed someone who understood the law and could tell me if Donna had crossed a line. The first 3 results were big firms with corporate clients. The fourth was a solo practitioner named Elena Vasquez, who specialized in HOA disputes and owner defense. Her website had a contact form. I filled it out and included a summary of the situation, the timeline, and the evidence I had collected. I hit send and closed the laptop. It was almost 8 p.m. My phone buzzed. It was an email from the HOA management company. The subject line said tow authorization pending review. I opened it. The body said they had received Donna's request for a tow authorization, but they needed to verify the violation status before issuing the order. They asked me to provide documentation of compliance by 8 a.m. tomorrow. I replied with the same 16 photos I had uploaded to the portal and a copy of the email chain showing Donna's contradictory claims. I added a note that said I am requesting a formal review of this enforcement action, and I am prepared to escalate if necessary. I sent the email and put my phone on the counter. Then I made a sandwich and tried to eat. I was not hungry, but I knew I needed to stay sharp. Donna was not going to stop. She had escalated from notices to tow threats in less than 6 hours. The next step would be a lien, or a hearing, or some other pressure tactic designed to make me give up. I thought about the stakes. I work as a network engineer, and I understand access logs and audit trails. I know how to track inconsistencies and prove intent, but this was not a server farm. This was my home, my neighborhood reputation, my ability to live here without constant harassment. Donna was spreading rumors. She had told other neighbors I was difficult and non-compliant. She had convinced the board to vote for aggressive enforcement policies targeting people like me. If I did not fight back, she would win, and I would be stuck paying fines and dealing with violations for as long as I lived here. I finished the sandwich and checked my email again. Nothing from the attorney yet. I opened the HOA portal and looked at the amenities status. My access card still worked. Donna had threatened an amenities lockout, but she had not followed through yet. That was coming. I logged out and went to bed. I set my alarm for 5:45 a.m. If Donna showed up early, I wanted to be ready. I lay there in the dark and listened to the wind rattle the windows. The house was quiet, but my mind was racing. I kept thinking about the snow boots. Such a small thing. 5 minutes on the porch mat. And Donna had turned it into a compliance crisis. That was the pattern. She found the smallest possible violation and inflated it into an emergency. Then she used the emergency to justify escalation, forced inspections, tow threats, amenities lockouts. It was a power trip disguised as rule enforcement. I woke up at 5:43 a.m., 2 minutes before the alarm. I got dressed, grabbed my phone, and went outside. The air was freezing. My breath fogged immediately. The driveway was still clear. The curb was still clear. The snow boots were inside. I took new photos anyway, just in case. Then I walked around the side of the house and checked the trash bins. They were in the designated zone, lids closed, no overflow. I checked the mailbox, no new violation notices. I went back inside and made coffee. At 6:15 my phone rang. It was Bill. He said, "She is here." I said, "Where?" He said, "Your driveway. She has a clipboard, and she is taking pictures." I said, "I will be right out." I grabbed my phone and my jacket and walked outside. Donna was standing at the edge of my driveway with a clipboard and a camera. She was wearing the same pink puffer coat. She looked up when she saw me. She said, "Good morning. I am conducting a compliance verification." I said, "I already submitted photos last night." She said, "I need independent verification. Step aside, please." Bill appeared from the sidewalk. He had his phone out, and he was recording. He said, "Morning, Donna. What is the issue here?" Donna turned. She said, "This is association business." Bill said, "Aaron is my neighbor. I am a witness." Donna said, "You are interfering." Bill said, "I am observing." Donna looked back at me. She said, "I need to verify edge clearance and measure the snow line." I said, "The snow line is city plow residue. It is not my responsibility." Donna said, "The handbook says property owner is responsible for all snow on the property regardless of source." I said, "Show me where it says that." She flipped through the clipboard pages. She pulled out a laminated policy sheet and held it up. The text was too small to read from where I stood, but she pointed at it like it was definitive proof. She said, "Right here. Section 12.4. Property owner maintains all surfaces to the property line, including plow displacement." I said, "I have the handbook. That section does not exist." Donna said, "It was added in the November update." I said, "I never received a November update." Bill said, "Donna, if there was a rule change, the association is required to notify all owners 30 days in advance." Donna said, "It was posted on the portal." Bill said, "Posting is not the same as individual notice. You know that." Donna's face went tight. She said, "I am documenting this conversation as further evidence of non-compliance and obstruction." She wrote something on the clipboard. Then she took 3 more photos of my driveway with her camera. She said, "I will be submitting this to the board for a hearing. Expect a notice within 48 hours." She walked back to her car. Bill watched her go. He said, "I got all of that on video." I said, "Thank you." He said, "She is making stuff up. That section 12.4 does not exist. I checked the handbook last month when she tried to find me for my holiday lights." I said, "I know." She is inventing rules to justify enforcement. Bill sent me the video file. Then he went back to his house. I went inside and uploaded the video to my evidence folder. Then I checked my email. There was a message from Elena Vasquez, the attorney. She had reviewed my summary, and she wanted to schedule a consultation call. She said she had seen cases like this before, and she thought I had grounds for a harassment claim, and possibly a challenge to the enforcement policies under Washington HOA law. I replied and suggested a call at noon. She confirmed. I looked at the clock. It was 6:52 a.m. I had 23 minutes before Donna's 8 a.m. deadline. I logged into the HOA portal and checked my submission status. The photos were marked as received, but not reviewed. I refreshed the page. No change. I opened my work email and sent a message to my manager saying I might need to take a personal call at lunch. Then I made breakfast. At 7:59 a.m., I got an email from the management company. The subject line said "Compliance Review Complete." I opened it. The body said they had reviewed my submitted photos and determined that I was in compliance with the snow removal requirements as of the timestamp on the photos. However, they noted that the board had requested additional verification and a hearing was being scheduled for the following week. I would receive a formal notice within 48 hours. I forwarded the email to Elena, then I left for work. The commute was slow. Black ice on the highway, cars sliding into the median, traffic backed up for 3 miles. I got to the office at 8:45. I grabbed coffee and sat down at my desk. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Bill. He said, "Donna just posted in the neighborhood group chat that you are non-compliant and under review. She is telling people you are a problem resident." I opened the group chat app. Sure enough, Donna had posted a message at 8:30 a.m. It said, "Reminder to all residents that winter compliance is mandatory and enforcement is active. Recent inspections have identified multiple violations, including snow removal failures and property clutter. Non-compliant residents are subject to fines, towing, and amenities lockout. Please review the handbook and ensure you are in full compliance." The message did not name me, but everyone would know who she meant. There were already 3 replies. One said, "Thank you for keeping the neighborhood safe." Another said, "Who is non-compliant?" The third said, "This seems excessive." I typed a reply. I said, "I would like to clarify that I submitted full compliance documentation last night, and the management company confirmed compliance this morning. If there are specific concerns about my property, I am happy to address them directly, rather than through public posts." I hit send. Within 2 minutes, Donna replied. She said, "This is not about one resident. This is about community standards." If you have concerns, you can attend the board meeting next week. I did not reply. I screenshotted the entire exchange and added it to the evidence folder. Then I called Elena at noon. Elena answered, and we talked for 35 minutes. I walked her through the timeline, the forced inspections, the tow threat, the invented rules, the public shaming in the group chat. She took notes. Then she said, "This is a textbook case of selective enforcement and harassment. The board has a duty to enforce rules uniformly and in good faith. If they are targeting you because you questioned them, that is retaliation and it is illegal under Washington law." She said I should document every interaction, keep copies of all emails and notices, and record any in-person confrontations if Washington is a one-party consent state. I said, "It is." She said, "Good. Then keep recording." She also said I should request a formal copy of the complete HOA bylaws, rules, and meeting minutes for the last year. If Donna is inventing rules, the discrepancies will show up in the records. She said, I can send a letter to the board on your behalf requesting the documents and putting them on notice that further retaliation will result in legal action. Do you want me to do that? I said yes. She said, I will draft it today and send it tomorrow. Expect pushback. They might try to escalate before the letter arrives. She was right. That night at 6 p.m., I got a notice taped to my front door. It was a bright orange windshield sticker that said violation without readable details. I peeled it off and looked at it. The back had a handwritten note that said final warning for non-compliance, hearing scheduled February 14th, 8 p.m., Community Center. Failure to attend will result in default judgment and immediate fines. I took a photo of the sticker and texted it to Elena. She replied, that is not proper notice. They are required to send certified mail. This is intimidation. I said, what do I do? She said, show up to the hearing and bring your evidence. I will be there with you if you want representation. I said, how much? She said $1,500 flat fee for the hearing plus any follow-up. I thought about it. $1,500 was a lot, but this was not going to stop unless I fought back. I said, let's do it. The next morning, Elena sent the letter. It went to the HOA board, the management company, and Donna personally. The letter said I was requesting a complete copy of all governing documents, meeting minutes, and enforcement records for the past year. It also said I was alleging selective enforcement, harassment, and retaliation, and I was reserving the right to pursue legal action if the behavior continued. The letter arrived on Friday. On Saturday morning, Donna showed up at my house again. This time, she had someone with her. A guy in a reflective vest with a tape measure and a camera. She said, this is an official inspection. We are verifying compliance before the hearing. I said, I did not consent to an inspection. Donna said, the bylaws allow for inspections with 24 hours notice. I sent an email last night. I checked my phone. There was an email from her timestamped at 11:58 p.m. The subject line said inspection notice. I opened it. The body said inspection scheduled for February 8th, 9 a.m. Compliance verification required. Access will be documented. I looked at the timestamp. It was sent less than 10 hours ago. I said, the bylaws say 24 hours. This is not 24 hours. Donna said, it is close enough. Bill appeared again. He had his phone out. He said, Donna, this is trespassing. You do not have consent, and you do not have proper notice. Donna said, we are on the driveway. The driveway is common property during inspections. Bill said, that is not true. The driveway is part of his lot. Donna said, we are documenting this obstruction. She nodded to the guy with the tape measure. He started taking photos of my front yard, the driveway, the porch. I said, stop. This is my property. You do not have permission to be here. Donna said, you can be mad, or you can be compliant. This will go faster if you cooperate. I pulled out my phone and started recording. I said, you are trespassing. I am asking you to leave. Donna said, we are conducting association business. I said, without proper notice and without consent. Leave now, or I am calling the police. Donna stared at me. Then she said, fine. We have enough documentation. She and the guy walked back to her car. Bill said, I got all of that. I said, "Thank you." He said, "She is losing it. This is not normal HOA behavior. This is a personal vendetta." I said, "I know. I am fighting it." He said, "Good. Let me know if you need anything." I went back inside and sent the video to Elena. She replied within an hour. She said, "That is a legal entry. File a police report." I called the non-emergency line and explained the situation. The dispatcher said an officer would come by to take a report. 2 hours later, a patrol officer showed up. I walked him through what happened and showed him the video. He took notes. He said, "This is a civil issue, but the trespassing is a criminal issue. Do you want to press charges?" I said, "I want it documented." He said, "I will file a report. You can use it in your hearing." He gave me a case number and left. That night, I got an email from the management company. The subject line said hearing postponed. I opened it. The body said the board had decided to postpone the February 14th hearing to February 21st to allow time for additional documentation review. I forwarded it to Elena. She said, "They are stalling because they know they screwed up. Use the extra time to organize your evidence." I spent the weekend building a timeline. I printed out all 14 violation notices and taped them to a poster board in chronological order. I printed the email chain showing the contradictory rule citations. I printed the meeting minutes showing Donna's comments about enhanced monitoring. I printed the audio transcript from the November meeting. I printed the trespassing police report. I printed the video still showing Donna on my property without consent. By Sunday night, I had a 3-foot poster board covered in evidence. It looked like a detective's murder board. Elena would love it. On Monday, I got another email from Donna. The subject line said final compliance demand. The body said I was required to submit a new set of photos showing snow removal compliance with measurements to the property line, due by Tuesday at noon, or I would be found in default at the hearing. I replied, "I have already submitted compliance documentation, and the management company confirmed compliance. I will not be submitting additional photos. If you have concerns, you can raise them at the hearing." Donna replied within 5 minutes. She said, "Your refusal to cooperate is noted and will be included in the enforcement record." I forwarded the exchange to Elena. She said, "She is building a paper trail to justify escalation. Do not engage further. Let her keep digging." Tuesday came and went. I did not submit new photos. On Wednesday, I got an email from Marcus Webb, the board treasurer who had voted against Donna's enforcement policy. The subject line said private conversation request. I opened it. The body said, "I have been reviewing the enforcement actions against your property, and I have concerns about the process. I would like to talk to you before the hearing if you are willing." I replied, "I am willing. Let's meet somewhere neutral." He suggested a coffee shop near the neighborhood. We met Thursday at 4 p.m. Marcus was in his 50s, gray hair, glasses, calm demeanor. He sat down and said, "I am going to be blunt. Donna is out of control. She has been running enforcement like a personal crusade, and the board is starting to notice." I said, "Why did you vote against her policy?" He said, "Because it was vague and gave too much discretion. I told her we needed clear definitions and timelines. She ignored me. I said, she has been targeting me for 6 months. He said, I know, you are not the only one. There are 3 other owners who have filed complaints. I said, why has not the board done anything? He said, because Donna controls the votes. She has 2 allies on the board, and she intimidates the 5th member. I am the only one pushing back. Marcus said, I have been collecting complaints, and I am planning to bring a motion to remove her from the board at the next election, but that is not until June. In the meantime, she is going to keep escalating. I said, what do you think she is going to do at the hearing? He said, she is going to recommend maximum fines and amenities lockout. She has already drafted the resolution. I saw it in the board packet. I said, can you share that with me? He said, I can share it with your attorney. Give me her contact. I gave him Alana's email. He said, I will send it tonight. I said, why are you helping me? He said, because this is not what an HOA is supposed to be. We are supposed to maintain property values and resolve disputes, not harass owners and invent rules. Donna is making this neighborhood toxic, and if we do not stop her, it is going to get worse. We finished our coffee and he left. I sat there for a few minutes thinking about what he said. Donna controls the votes. That meant even if I won the hearing, she could keep coming after me. Unless I changed the board. That was the real solution. A neighbor petition that forces a vote during the meeting. I pulled out my phone and texted Bill. I said, I need your help with something. Can we talk tonight? He said, sure. Come by at 7. I went to his house that evening and explained what Marcus had told me. Bill said, so you want to force a recall vote? I said, not a recall. A special election. If we can get enough owners to sign a petition, we can force a vote to add new board members, or change the bylaws to limit enforcement discretion. Bill said, how many signatures do you need? I said the bylaws say 15% of owners. There are 200 units in the association. That is 30 signatures. Bill said, I can get you 10. I know people who are fed up with Donna. I said, I will get the rest. We have until the hearing. That gives us 9 days. I spent the next week knocking on doors. I printed a petition that said, we the undersigned owners request a special meeting to review enforcement policies and consider changes to board leadership. I walked the neighborhood every evening after work. Some people slammed the door. Some people said they did not want to get involved, but a lot of people signed. By the night before the hearing, I had 28 signatures. Bill had 12. That was 40 total. We were over the threshold. I scanned the petition and emailed it to Elena and the management company. Elena said, this is going to change the dynamic at the hearing. They cannot ignore this. I said, good. That is the point. The hearing was on February 21st at 8 p.m. in the community center. I showed up at 7:45 with Elena, Bill, and the poster board. The room was set up with a long table at the front for the board and rows of folding chairs for residents. About 20 people were already there. Donna was at the front table with the other 4 board members. She looked at me and her face went tight. Marcus was at the far end of the table. He gave me a small nod. Elena and I sat in the front row. Bill sat behind us. At 8 p.m. the board president, a woman named Carol, called the meeting to order. She said, we are here tonight to review an enforcement matter regarding the property at Unit 142. The owner is present with counsel. We will hear from the enforcement officer first, then the owner, then we will deliberate. Donna stood up. She had a binder. She opened it and started reading. She said, the owner has been issued 14 violation notices over the past 6 months for various non-compliance issues, including garbage placement, recycling violations, holiday decoration violations, and snow removal violations. The owner has repeatedly refused to submit required documentation, obstructed inspections, and engaged in hostile behavior toward association representatives. Most recently, the owner refused a lawful inspection and threatened legal action. The owner also organized a petition to disrupt board operations. I recommend maximum fines of $5,000, immediate amenities lockout, and placement of a lien on the property if fines are not paid within 30 days. She sat down. Carol said, thank you. Now we will hear from the owner. Elena stood up. She said, thank you. I am Elena Vasquez, representing the owner. We have prepared a detailed response with evidence. She walked to the front and handed each board member a copy of the evidence packet. Then she set up the poster board on an easel. The board members stared at it. Elena said, the evidence shows a pattern of selective enforcement, harassment, and rule fabrication targeting my client. Notice number 1 claims a garbage violation on August 3rd. The rule cited does not exist in the bylaws. Notice number 2 claims a recycling violation on August 17th. The rule cited was added after the violation date. Notice number 3 claims a holiday light violation on December 6th. The rule cited applies only to commercial displays, not residential. She went through all 14 notices, pointing at the poster board and the evidence packet. The board members flipped through the pages. Donna's face was red. Carol said, these are serious allegations. Do you have proof the rules were fabricated? Alana said yes. We have the original bylaws, the amendment history, and meeting minutes showing when rules were added. None of the cited rules existed at the time of the alleged violations. She pulled out the audio recording from the November meeting. She said, we also have this. She played the clip where Donna said she was recommending enhanced monitoring because I had shown a pattern of non-compliance and resistance, and residents who push back will be subject to escalated measures. The room went silent. Carol said, that recording was taken without consent. Elena said, Washington is a one-party consent state. The recording is legal and admissible. Carol looked at Donna. She said, do you want to respond? Donna said, the resident has been non-compliant and obstructive. The enforcement actions were appropriate. Elena said, let's talk about the most recent action. On February 8th, the enforcement officer and an assistant entered my client's property without proper notice and without consent. My client asked them to leave. They refused. My client filed a police report. She held up the police report. She said, this is criminal trespassing. Carol said, we were conducting an inspection. Elena said, without 24 hours notice and without consent. That is a legal entry. Carol looked at Marcus. She said, what is the bylaw on inspections? Marcus said, 24 hours written notice delivered by certified mail or hand delivery with signature. Email is not sufficient. Donna's inspection notice was sent by email at 11:58 p.m. the night before. That is not 24 hours, and it is not proper delivery. Donna stood up. She said, this is a distraction. The resident is trying to avoid accountability. Elena said, accountability for what? Every alleged violation has been shown to be based on a non-existent rule or a rule that was applied retroactively. The management company confirmed compliance on the snow removal issue. The tow authorization was denied. The inspection was illegal. What exactly is my client being held accountable for? Donna said, he organized a petition to undermine the board. Elena said, that petition was signed by 40 owners. That is 20% of the association. It is not undermining the board. It is exercising owner rights under the bylaws. Carol said, we have received the petition. We will address it separately. Right now we are focused on the enforcement matter. Elena said, the enforcement matter is a sham. My client has been targeted for retaliation because he questioned the board. That is illegal under Washington HOA law. If this board votes to fine him or place a lien, we will file suit for harassment, selective enforcement, and civil rights violations. The damages will exceed $100,000. I have already drafted the complaint. The room erupted. People started talking. Carol banged a gavel. She said, order. We will take a 15-minute recess. The board members stood up and walked into a back room. Elena sat down next to me. She said, that went well. I said, they looked scared. She said, they should be. You have them dead to rights. Bill leaned forward. He said, I have never seen Donna that quiet. I said, wait until we drop the next bomb. Elena said, what bomb? I pulled out my phone and opened an email. I said, Marcus sent me this last night. It is a leaked vendor spreadsheet showing a target list and my address is highlighted. Elena said, what? I showed her the screen. The spreadsheet had a list of 20 addresses. Mine was highlighted in yellow. Next to it was a note that said priority enforcement, board approved. Elena said, this is premeditation. This proves targeting. I said, I know. I have not shown it to the board yet. I am saving it. Elena said, show it now. When they come back, drop it and watch them fold. The board came back. Carol said, we have deliberated. Before we vote, I want to ask the owner if he has anything else to add. I stood up. I said yes. I have one more piece of evidence. I walked to the front and handed Carol my phone. I said, this is a vendor spreadsheet provided to me by a board member. It shows a target list of properties for priority enforcement. My address is highlighted. Carol looked at the screen. Her face went pale. She looked at Donna. She said, did you create this? Donna said, that is an internal planning document. It is not evidence of targeting. Carol said, it literally says priority enforcement. Donna said, some properties require more attention. Carol said, based on what? Donna said, based on compliance history. I said, I had 0 compliance issues before Donna joined the board. Every violation on that spreadsheet happened after she started targeting me. The list is not based on compliance. It is based on retaliation. Marcus stood up. He said, I provided that document to the owner because I believe the board has a duty to act in good faith. That spreadsheet was created by Donna without board approval, and it violates our enforcement policies. I move that we dismiss all charges against the owner, refund all fines, and initiate a review of enforcement procedures. Another board member, a man named Steve, said. I second. Carol said, all in favor? 3 hands went up, Marcus, Steve, and Carol. Donna and her ally voted no. Carol said, motion carries. All charges are dismissed. The owner will receive a full refund of any fines paid and a written apology. We will also initiate a review of enforcement policies and schedule a special meeting to address the petition. Donna stood up. She said, this is a mistake. You are setting a precedent that owners can obstruct enforcement. Carol said, no. We are setting a precedent that enforcement must be lawful and fair. This meeting is adjourned. People started clapping. Bill clapped me on the shoulder. Elena said, you did it. I said, we did it. Donna grabbed her binder and walked out of the room. She did not look at me. Marcus came over. He said that spreadsheet was the smoking gun. I am glad you used it. I said thank you for sending it. He said, I am going to push for her removal at the next meeting. With this evidence, I think we have the votes. I said, let me know if you need anything. He said, I will. Elena and I walked out to the parking lot. She said, I will draft a settlement agreement and send it to the management company tomorrow. Make sure it includes a no-contact directive and a ban on retaliatory enforcement. I said, how much do I owe you? She said, $1,500 like we agreed. But honestly, this case was worth it just to see Donna's face when you dropped that spreadsheet. I laughed. I said, that was pretty good. The next day, I got an email from the management company. The subject line said settlement agreement. I opened it. The body included a draft agreement that said all fines were refunded, all violation notices were expunged from my record, Donna was prohibited from contacting me directly or initiating enforcement actions against my property without board approval, and the HOA agreed to mediation with a neutral third party to review enforcement policies and resolve any remaining disputes. The agreement also included a written ban on retaliatory winter enforcement with penalties for violations. I signed it and sent it back. Elena reviewed it and confirmed it was binding. She said, you are done. They cannot touch you. I said, what about the petition? She said, the board has to hold a special meeting within 60 days. You will get your vote. I said, good. 2 weeks later, the special meeting happened. 43 owners showed up, the highest attendance in 5 years. Marcus presented the petition and the evidence of selective enforcement. Carol proposed a bylaw amendment to add enforcement oversight and limit discretionary actions. The amendment passed unanimously. Then Marcus moved to remove Donna from the board for misconduct. The vote was 62% in favor. Donna was out. She did not show up to the meeting. A week later, I saw her in the neighborhood. She was walking her dog. She looked at me and turned around. We have not spoken since. Bill moved into her vacant board seat in the next election. He said he wanted to make sure the new policies were enforced fairly. I said thank you. He said no problem. That is what neighbors do. The funny karma moment came 3 weeks after the settlement. Karen insists on a deadline, and the timestamp proves she lied. I was going through old emails, and I found the original forced inspection demand Donna sent the night of the tow threat. The email was timestamped 6:22 p.m., and the body said I had until 8 a.m. the next day to submit photos. But when I looked at the metadata, the email had been backdated. The actual send time was 9:15 p.m., after I had already submitted the photos. Donna had changed the timestamp to make it look like she gave me more notice than she did. I forwarded the metadata to Elena. She said that is evidence tampering. If she tries anything again, we can use this. I said, she is done. Elena said good. Keep the evidence anyway. I saved it in the folder. The outcome was complete. The HOA agrees to mediation with a neutral third party. Karen's credibility collapses in front of witnesses. A neighbor petition that forces a vote during the meeting. The settlement includes full fee refunds, a no-contact directive, and a written ban on retaliatory winter enforcement with penalties for violations. Donna never came back to a board meeting. She moved out of the neighborhood 6 months later. Bill told me she sold her house and relocated to another city. I said good riddance. He said agreed. The neighborhood is quieter now. The enforcement policies are clear and fair. No more targeting. No more invented rules. No more harassment. I kept the evidence folder on my desktop just in case, but I have not needed it. Life is back to normal. I shovel my driveway when it snows. I put my garbage bins in the right spot. I follow the actual rules, and no one bothers me. I will bring you another story soon.